Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome and join us in kicking off the first ever episode of The Lab. I'm Autumn.
I'm Fode.
I'm James.
And I'm Samara.
Yeah. So, this first episode, we're just going to introduce ourselves as students of Out of Bounds Productions and talk a little bit about our whys, why we wanted to join the class, why we were interested in, being part of this little community we have here. So anybody that feels passionate about starting us off,
I mean, I can start us off. I think for me, when I look at the idea of a why, for me, with classes at Nova have been so versatile. A lot of them discussion based, some of them teachers speaking at you. And I think I kind of fit the mold where I was able to communicate with my classmates. And it wasn't just taking notes and then reading a lecture. And for me also, this team aspect for me has been huge. Last year, we did this thing called Safe Seat with my team. And I'm hearing all these stories of all my teammates, how they grew up. And we all grew up from different backgrounds and different cultures and different views, but soccer brought us all together. And that was such a beautiful thing. And so with this class, and it's my spring semester, my senior year, I'm like, I want to do something that's meaningful and impactful, and perspective is everything to me. So when I had the opportunity to join this group, I'm like, why not? And to do this with a podcasting team is such a beautiful thing. And hearing of your stories and the people who we will be hosting, that'll be something super impactful. And that's something I think will be meaningful for my exit out of Nova.
I think I can definitely relate to that a bit. I also think my interest was sort of helping as a collaborator on last year's doc, Seeds We Bury. And it kind of went from that and hanging out with people in the class to seeing the final product of the film and realizing how powerful film can be, and then joining the class. But to me, what was so impactful about it was that it inspired me. And one of the things I like to live my life by is something Nipsey Hussle has said, which is the highest human act is to inspire. And so if I feel like anything I had a part in or I worked on or anything that I've done has inspired somebody else to do something that they enjoyed or that they found to be fruitful is really important to me. And I feel like that's something that makes it all worth it, regardless of it could be one person. So I feel like last year's class and being part of that process last year inspired me to think much bigger and do something that's bigger than myself, which is why I feel like this class is perfect for that.
Beautiful. Yes. For me, my why, already coming in freshman year, I've heard of the dot class and how they travel. And I was like, okay, traveling, fun. But when we got deeper into it, like in my conversation with people, and they would talk about, yeah, this is what we're doing mine service, work-wise. I said, okay, that's more my speed, because in my time at Villanova, I've involved myself in what is it, MLK Day of Service. I've done service with my organization, and growing up with how my mom has lived in her own personal experiences. I won't go into that right now, but I've done a lot of work even with her and people like her. So when I heard of this work, which combines traveling, one of my loves, and then helping people, another one of my loves, I said, I need to be there. And not just because of the experience and how transformative I knew it would be, but because of what I would learn, not just from the people that I'm with, but what I would learn from the people that I would meet abroad.
Similar to James, I've also heard a lot of things and positive things about the dot course throughout my Villanova career. I really wanted to join after going to the premiere last year. I really enjoyed seeing the film that Autumn was in. That was great. And then there was another film called Lady that was also really beautiful. Just hearing about the work they did in the Philippines, I was really excited to get involved and see what they're going to be doing in the next year. I really enjoyed my time in Morocco for a lot of different reasons, but more so just the ability to travel as students as a group, I think is very different from the ability to travel with your family or when you're alone. I think the experiences you have, you're not necessarily in control of being perceived as an individual. The idea of traveling as an American, the idea of traveling as an educated American, going to a prestigious university, I think I was really excited to be able to use the power from that for good.
Okay, you guys let me know if this question, I guess, resonates or makes sense, but outside of your why or what brought you here, drew you to the class, 'cause a lot of us were okay, our initial thing of why we joined, what kept you here? What made you think, okay, this is a place I want to be, this is somewhere that either, even if it's not I belong, but some place that I want to work with, some people that I want to be with, some story that I want to be a part of. Like, what was the part that's like, all right, I'm going to be here and I'm going to immerse myself?
I think I can answer.
Mm.
Because even in the first question, I forgot to say, like, I did the social justice, the experiences, the SJEs.
The SJEs.
So doing that and then knowing that this class is basically a year-long SJE, which combines the creative component of filming, that is what kept me. Because I was like, I'm a communication major concentrating in media and production, and I've never held a camera, like, or have done like recording sound outside of this class. So knowing that I was going to have a part in telling people stories through film and through art, that is what really kept me outside of the people. And like, obviously Hezi, because like I love him, like I already knew him prior to coming, but the community that I've built with the people in the beginning stages, as rough as it was, is what was like, okay, you know, like we're thugging this out together for this purpose, and I still get to be creative in the process, and that's what kept me engaged.
Who's Hezi?
Thank you. What a good question. He is the professor of this course, Hezekiah Lewis. Doctor.
Oh, Doctor.
Hezekiah Lewis.
Okay. I don't know.
Like moving on that, I think for me, I'm newer here, but I think this idea of having a team around you, like when I walked in and I first was introduced to it, I knew it wasn't like a class, like this is a project, like, and it's a process. And immediately when we stepped in, it's like a Tuesday class and it's from 6 to 9 p.m. And it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Let's figure this out. And we're in the circle and I'm hearing all these stories and people's perspectives. I'm like, I don't even know you guys yet. I don't know everyone's names, but people are so real and honest, and I feel like I haven't had a class like that at Nova yet. And I kind of hate that it happened so late for me, like in my spring semester, that I had an experience like this. And I feel like people want more things like that. So I think, and I hope like people hear this and it inspires them to join a class like this and help, because you got guys like Jonathan and our producers, and it's like these people who are editing everything, and like people are putting, like, it's a job. This isn't like a class, it's really a job, and they're putting real world things into perspective. So I think it's very eye-opening, and I'm loving the process right now and seeing everybody work.
Yeah. I think like in some respects what this class reminds me of is like race justice dialogue type of courses, and like the course does depend on like your group and group chemistry for sure, but like one of my facilitators was like made clear kind of what you were just saying of like, this is not a space you get very often, where like we're asking you to bring your experience into the classroom. Usually you're in a classroom and you're separating who you are and your personal experience from everything else you're learning, when we're supposed to be doing the exact opposite in here. Like the story is about like our collaborators and the people who we're trying to highlight, but in order to tell the story authentically, like we have to do some like self-reflecting and like looking within ourselves and stuff like that. So I feel like in that respect, it is a really like unique class and unique kind of concept. So I guess looking at the stories we're telling as like a college course, like I feel like this experience doing what we're doing in general is just, not everybody gets like this opportunity. So why do we tell these type of stories that are like outside of the standard? And when we were talking about like the theme for this episode, James had said like, okay, well, what is the standard? So like, I don't know if you want to jump in here, but like, what do we think about like that question?
The question of why we do.
Why we tell these stories, and why do we tell stories that are outside of like the standard or the norm, or like we're highlighting people that oftentimes are communities that are overlooked, that if you told most people like about these communities, they would be like, I don't know the history, I don't know the term, I didn't know this existed. I can say that about last year's film and this year's film.
I got up into that. I think from how I view it, I went to private school, and I'm also at Nova now, and it's this private school thing. I think this idea of like a bubble, I think we live in this bubble, and like we have these perceptions that, oh, this is just what the world is, but it really isn't. And so whenever we have the opportunity as students, I didn't travel, but when you have the opportunity to travel and go to Africa and go to these different nations, you're finding a piece of yourself, but you're also like helping influence others. So when you bring that back to the States and they get to see those films and they get to hear from those people as well, maybe some visit as well, it's like, wow, the world is bigger than this little Nova bubble. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. And I know you guys travel and it changed you in different pieces, and like we'll get into that eventually, but like I think that's the biggest thing, to get away from this idea that life is this bubble. And you look at like even like the Super Bowl and with Bad Bunny and like different cultures being able to have influence, like that is what America is. So this trip, especially in the doc behind everything, like this is what the meaning of why we do those things, to get away from that idea of a bubble.
100%. I agree. I think it's to like break the idea of othering and like humanizing just everyone.
Mhm.
What for you when you traveled most was like, wow, this is so different from that Nova bubble. I wish I had this here as well.
Okay, for context, we went to Morocco this year, and culturally in Morocco, something that I wish we did have more of was like authentic kindness. Because Villanova has like this reputation of like Villanova nice, or the spoiled and bratty kids, which is true. Like a lot of the, like, not our demographic, but
You look
Name it.
the majority demographic of this school is like very privileged, very preppy, and there's that Villanova nice of I'm going to smile at you when you walk, or I'm going to hold the door for you, but that's like as far as it goes. Like if you actually need something, you're not going to have it. But in Morocco, people that we didn't know that we came in contact with, doors were wide open. Food was given to us, whatever we needed to make us feel comfortable. Both times, and we traveled because we traveled twice, there was always support.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just towards us. It was also visible that like the love that they had for each other, like in the way that they responded to each other, the intention, like they're very intentional with how they're living and approaching life. Yeah, that's what I wish we had here.
I think I think it is really like important and underrated to like, I guess, analyze our bubble, like our school culture. Cause like I know from my high school, I also went to private school, I went to boarding school, and like we have our own culture. And like having gone back once since then, I was talking to a brand new faculty member and he was like, been at a lot of schools, but something like very particular about this one is doesn't matter who you're talking to, could be a teacher, a faculty member, but if you ask them how they're all, they'll say busy. Yeah, I got a lot going on. I'm busy. I'm this, I'm that. He's like, what does that say about like the human spirit that you can never say, oh, I'm doing well, or oh, I'm feeling productive, oh, I'm feeling whatever. Like the answer is always like, I'm busy. Like having been part of that community, that was norm. I never thought about how weird it was to maybe always answer that way, or to always feel like you have to be doing, going. So it's like not until I feel like my senior year, like started analyzing a little bit about, okay, this is maybe what's unique to Villanova. Like this is something about our culture that I feel is, just very like the Villanova nice thing. Like I didn't notice that until maybe late my junior year when someone said it in class. So I'm like, oh, now that you mention it, people do that. Like that is kind of a thing. But I don't know, I feel like that's interesting.
I'm even so glad that you mentioned the busyness, because I can't even believe I forgot about that. But like when we were in Morocco, quiet. It's like all the noise that was in my brain went. Like it's so like it's a slower pace of life. And honestly, like not even just unique to here. I just feel like once you leave the States, life just slows down. Like granted, life still has its challenges, but I feel like having the ease helps deal with those difficulties. And like whereas here, I can't even process anything that's happening. Like even when life is throwing every curveball possible, we're so busy that you can't even process anything. And I feel like that is another reason why there's so much care abroad, because they have the stillness to check in with one another, whereas we're so busy we can't even like genuinely check in.
Could you touch on a little bit, if anything, of like how that was for you? Like in what ways, if you can, before any other episode of that kind of.
Okay. Even within our group, because like I feel like us as a group being in Morocco, we were affected by it because we dealt with some difficulties, but we checked in on each other on the trip. Like I will say, like he always reached out to me, like, has he made sure we were good? Joe made sure we were good. Joe is one of the facilitator for our trip, who did our reflections. She would check in on us, make sure we were good. And all of our team members, like at any point throughout the day, if they saw that we were tired, they would help us carry something, or would give you like water if you needed it. Like we were very attentive to one another, and that is not normal here, but it was normal there. Every day that was normal.
I like that. And that idea of like vulnerability is something that I feel like you need before you even step into the idea of filming. And like I feel like with your story, it was the same way. Can you touch on that and like give the audience an idea of what that was like?
Like being a collaborator in last year's film, like part of the filming process happened like in my home. And then like part of it happened at an after school program that I once like went to as a kid. I grew up there, and then I became like a teacher there, and then I was a tutor there. And it was like both of those spaces are like incredibly personal to me. So of course I was like, okay, if you guys need a place to film, this is where you're gonna find like the community, this is where you're gonna find youth. But I didn't really consider what it would be like to really have cameras there, or like be filmed, or like tell people to basically just like act like they're not there kind of. And so even though it seemed like a little off to begin with, like once the cameras really started rolling and we really did just start like talking and laughing with each other and being with each other, it became a lot more natural. And I think seeing the final product was also a really important part of that, because I had like family members and cousins who came up for the premiere, and like them seeing themselves on the screen, they were like, whoa, like seeing their story being told, they were just like, that's kind of crazy. Like I feel like, and I don't want to speak for them, but I feel like in some ways I felt like people feel, and I feel like this goes for everybody, they feel like their story may not be worthy of something like that. Like one of the people last year who worked on the film that connected me with this whole kind of situation was Meg Martin. And she talked about coming down here, and I was kind of like, yeah, okay, like if you really think that's gonna, like, is there enough content? And then because I just I didn't know whether or not everyone else was going to be like interested in it, I guess. So then when a few people came down to just kind of like scope out the area, and they ended up attending like a town hall meeting between people on the reservation. So for context, I'm a member of the Shinnecock Indian Nation. So we're an indigenous tribe on the eastern end of Long Island. And we were and currently are in a legal situation with like the town of Southampton, the state of New York, over us trying to build a gas station, which is going to help like fund us. Like there's a whole lot of reasons why there's like financial insecurity on the reservation, and there isn't in the Hamptons, as we're all aware of. And so in that town hall meeting, which I'd never actually been to one, like I'm familiar with the conflict, but I'd never just gone to a town hall meeting because it's mostly like older people, I guess. Seeing the conflict and seeing people actually like raise their voices at each other and get irritated, and like their ignorance being loud and clear, like I wasn't shocked, but seeing the way like some of the people in the class and the way Hezi reacted, it was just like, is this for real? Like, are these people serious? And I'm like, yeah, this is the ignorance that like lives here. Like, this is how it kind of goes. But seeing how the class turned the story into something like really beautiful, that people could just get a small snapshot of it and like feel a little bit of like a small little sliver of my life, my family's life, my community's life, was really like rewarding and a really, I feel like, cool part of the process. So
I have a follow-up for you.
yes, what's that?
Because you mentioned like that unease around feeling like what you guys were working on, like filming, was worthy of being seen.
Mm.
Why do you think that, like, why do you think people would feel like it's not worth being seen? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why that response?
Honestly, I think this is something I've learned being part of the class so far, is like documentary making is not movie making. Like doesn't have to be like in my head it's like, oh, is this worthy of like drama? It's just like a moment. When in reality, you're capturing reality. Like you're capturing what's happening, and it happens naturally. Like things just flow. Like the story just reveals itself kind of thing. So I feel like I was worried about, okay, is anything gonna happen in this town meeting? Like, is this just gonna be like boring? Like, what are they gonna see? Like, are we gonna have enough people that want to film? Like, are the people that are doing the interviews, do they know what story is trying to be told? Like, I was worried about so many different aspects, when in reality, like the team was able to just make the story reveal itself. So I guess I was just kind of worried about that part. And then I also feel like that part of my identity is something I'm like very much proud of. Like I've been very vocal about like on campus when it comes to like clubs and like finding a community. But even within the Native American community, it's like there's contention with like Black Native Americans. Like there's still like colorism. There's still so many people who don't know that the concept of a Black Native American exists. So it's like I don't always feel like being like, yes, I'm Native American, like, yes, I'm this, because like people try to invalidate your experience regardless. Like we are a federally recognized tribe, have been since 2012. We have to carry around tribal IDs, but like sometimes it doesn't matter. Like ignorance is going to be ignorance. So I don't always, get that feeling of the story being something that everyone's going to like get. I think I'm worried about people getting it, when in reality, I can just tell it.
I think you bring up a great point. That idea of like storytelling, and like, is this powerful enough? And it's like that's such a crazy thing to even ask. It's like this is my story, and like if you don't get it, you don't get it. But I'm going to show you the perspective, and I feel like storytelling can be the easiest or hardest thing, depending on how vulnerable you can be within it. Because if you're filtering, it's like this is glorified. That's not even who I am. And I feel like those are the things that get the most views and the money and whatever, but they don't have the most value. And so when it's valued and it's like, this is how real I am, this is what it is, this is the good, this is the bad. I feel like people take that and it's like, yeah, I'm failing, I'm human. I think that's the end of the story. I'm human. And that's how people should look at it, not like, okay, they're not perfect. I think that goes back to that point of the bubble. Like that bubble is telling you this is what's supposed to be reality, this is natural. No, like that's just how you live. And you're blinded. So the doc's supposed to tell you, hey, this is reality as well. Be accepting of that. Or try to be open at least. And I think that's the point we're trying to get at with the podcast even. You know?
Yeah. And I think like being on the collaborator side, like I said, like kind of the story revealing itself, like obviously it wasn't magic. Like there were people that sat in this lab for hours trying to make that story make sense.
Exactly.
So it's like now that I'm on the other side, I have to be like, all right, how do I make this story make sense? Like now I have to be the one to kind of like, obviously in a team setting, like make this, like be respectful, but also tell it in a way that's going to bring light to it. So I guess us all now being in this position, like what does it mean to tell stories through a social justice lens? Because it isn't just a documentary class. Like when you're in Morocco, when you're either in the lab, wherever, like what do we all see as like the social justice aspect? Like what does it mean to tell it through that lens, I guess?
Glad you asked in that sense, like what lens?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing that comes up for me is staying true to the people themselves and what they have in mind. Like, because even when we were in the earlier stages of like trying to figure out like what we were going to take over there question wise, or like the story that we had, like, because there was a whole process of trying to understand what the story was, and we still are. But when we went over, like, one of the questions that I asked was, okay, what do the people there, what do they think? Like, what do they view the story that we're trying to tell as? Like, what do they think that we're doing, basically? And I'm like, whatever they want to tell is what I think we should capture. Because, like, even when you're going on the point, like, when we were talking about worthiness and purpose and the bubble, it's everybody's voice at the end of the day is important. And then from this lens of like, yes, we're focusing on Morocco, we're focusing on the people. What are they saying? Like, what is their voice communicating? What is their actions communicating? And how can we capture that for people to hear and visually see and understand?
Yeah. I feel like when we're talking about like us as students, what we need to bring to this class in order to like be successful, like what type of person do you need to be in this class type of thing. Kind of what you were just saying reminded me of like being in writing meetings, and like if I see an interview or like I hear somebody talking, I'm like, I always am not afraid to ask questions, but okay, why? Like what do they mean by that? Like how did they react? Like why didn't they answer this question? Why did they answer that question? So I feel like, and you get more comfortable doing it, like I guess longer you've been here maybe, but I feel like a huge part of this class is like being curious. Like you have to ask questions because nobody here to like except for our collaborators are like experts, so to speak, on like Amazigh culture. So just to give like context, the community we're actually focusing on this year is an indigenous tribe in Morocco, and they're Amazigh people. And in most of like academic history and things like that, they're referred to by a different term, like that starts with a B. It's very outdated and it's very ignorant. But they're a community that doesn't get highlighted a lot. And I just feel like I can imagine that maybe even like last year, people asking questions about like my community, like there's a lot of questions to be asked. So like, I don't want to just assume that I know the story or assume that I know things about their community. Like, I feel like you have to be able to just ask questions. Like either if you're not just asking the people in the class who were actually in Morocco, like maybe you're contacting the collaborator. Like, I feel like that's an important part.
I think you bring a point. I think like especially yesterday, and I'm in here, we're watching it, and then as you go like, what's Fez? I'm like, yo. And it's silent. I'm like, who, what, where? And it's like, yeah, we need to tell that full spectrum, because like, I think it's so easy when you're in it, you're like, oh, I just assume. Like, we're just assuming like, no, everyone has to see that, like the most simplest piece within it. And like, that's so hard to process, I think, at the beginning of everything.
I feel like keeping our audience in mind. Exactly. Like to give context to what you said, we were watching a vignette where the man who was like being interviewed was talking about, oh, I want to bring, I can't remember the exact context. He was talking about like his hometown. I want to bring honor to Fez. I want to do this for Fez. And I guess in my head, I like brought context to it. But when Hezi actually asked, I'm like, I wasn't really sure about, like, I think it's a town. I think it's a city. So it's like what we think might be clear isn't always clear to our audience. Like, isn't always clear to everybody. So I feel like that's.
Going back to this, because the
Yes.
8, I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, yeah, I also want to chime in.
Yeah.
Go first.
Oh, yeah. Please. Somebody got it. For sure. We want to hear you.
Well, you remember the point.
Yeah,
Do it right. Okay, no. Go ahead. Right.
go ahead, pop off.
Going off of that, like one of the running jokes, but it was very true that happened throughout production was we need to be a sponge. Like I can hear Olivia's voice saying it. Olivia's one of our directors. And it's true because I feel like as the students who are the production crew and we're putting this together, if we soak up all that we can from the conversations, from what we're seeing, the sounds that we're hearing and what we're capturing, the more that we grab, the easier it is to tell the story.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the quality of the film will determine how intentional and how present we were when we were there. And I think that's why our B-roll is so beautiful now. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. My point was on the idea of like narrative, because I think that like that's something we did talk about specifically with like the way that the Amazigh people do identify, because they still do align with like the B word. And like, yes, from a Eurocentric view, like we've deemed that to be like a derogatory term, but it is a term that they still align with to this day. So I think that like that's a very fine line that as documentarians we have to be weary of, because you don't want to create a product that they don't align with, or like we're bashing the narrative that they align with, but we do want to create something that like they can see themselves in still.
I think it goes to that context of like, I think visually too, it's like, that's the hardest piece to capture. I think their voices it's beautiful, but then like visually for the watcher, what is it for me? It's like, wow, I feel like I'm in this place. And I feel like that's the hardest piece we have, like where our producers are navigating. And that's something I want to learn. And like, I think that sponge idea, because I know nothing about podcasting or anything, but like I joined this class, like I want to like understand all this stuff. But the background stuff is like so intriguing, but definitely looks like it's tiring. But it's like, that's what you're putting yourself into. But I find it super interesting.
Yeah, I think the part about the visuals is like definitely like logging footage for the first time. I feel like I was rating everything a little higher than it was. So like
I was doing the 1 too. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little.
because I had to ask, I'd be like, would you think this is like when we log footage, we're just taking like everything that's been shot and like how good do we think the clip is, like what's in it, stuff like that. And when actually watching now like the assembly cuts and like the longer versions, it's like I think Olivia was like we have, was it Olivia or was it Kara? I can't remember, but they're like, we have so much good stuff, but like we have to, if you even hesitate, cut it out. And it's like me, I'm so indecisive. I'm like, but we can put it here, but what about? It's like you can't be like that. Like you have to look at the visuals that are gonna best tell the story. And I feel like that part is like hard because it's just like telling the story without words is really
But it's all there.
yeah.
I remember I was doing a log and I did like an hour or 15, and I went through like maybe 30 clips of stars, like slow, then like some regular. I'm like, what am I doing? But it was like, that's the process. It's like, I don't know. But I was doing 1, 2, and they're like, yo, it's Liam. This is Liam's. I'm like, I'm violating Liam right now. I was just doing 1 and 2. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, I think like that's such a beautiful part of the process too within that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like even like just touching on the trip, I guess, in the theme of what type of like, not person or personality, but what type of attitude or mindset you have to bring to this class. Not even having been there, I would say adaptability. And I don't know if anybody wants to expand on that, but things are never always just going to go however you want it to go or how you think it's going to go. You may have a plan.
Look at his face.
It's like the quote, or you have a plan. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in rolling with the punches, like what do we think about that when it comes to storytelling and film and things of that nature?
There's so many things because like I can merge the questions. So like landing, it was just like, oh my God, we're in Morocco. Wow, we're finally starting. Like we have no idea what we're getting into. And then all the punches came. So it's like, like what are we like? truly the question of the day was, what are we doing? And
What's going
I'm
on?
not gonna lie, it was every day. It's like, okay, what are we doing today? It's Monday. What are we doing today? It's Tuesday. What are we doing today?
What's going on?
That coming. What are we doing?
What's
And
going on?
Right.
kind of have to
Right.
figure that out.
Yeah.
Right. But no, like you just figure it out. Cause like my brain immediately thinks to Fez. Fez is one of the cities in Morocco.
The first city we went to for 4 days.
What a journey. Very beautiful. We did a lot of journeying in Medinas. Medinas is like the marketplace / residence / it's just all of the things in Morocco, cultural hubs. But yeah, like I don't even know how many times we pivoted alone in the Medina, just story wise. But we always figured out something. Like even that was the vignette that we got. Like the vignette we watched yesterday, which was, I don't even know if I could talk about that. But when we were looking at it, that came from Fez. And honestly, I'm trying to find my words.
Find them.
Finding it.
It's okay.
Take it that long to find it?
Yeah.
It do, yeah.
I feel like the roadblocks lead you to more beautiful things.
And you found it. That was
Because I'm like, with every roadblock that we face, like we would have never went to that light shop to get that. I would have never met, I'm not going to go into that because that's too much to explain. We would have never met Hanan. Hanan is one of our main collaborators for this year's documentary. We wouldn't have met her had everything gone perfectly. We would have just went to Fadma's village, another one of our collaborators, main collaborators. And to be honest, I'm glad that we had all the roadblocks. One, it builds character. And two, I think it gave our story so much more dimension. And we're still trying to figure out the story and how we're going to tell it. But I feel like it would be a lot flatter had we not had our roadblocks. Like I said, it built character.
And like quickly, like on that point, I guess with the roadblocks, with the punches, like going back to purpose, why did y'all not just give up? Because, you know, there's different type of, like, you could have been like, oh, it's raining, let's go inside. Or like, oh, this is this, we can't film here, that is what it is. Like, what kept you guys grounded and being like, oh, this is going to get done regardless. Like, we're going to be committed to these people, to this story regardless.
That's such a good question. It just didn't feel like an option, though. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't consider that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first time I've thought about that one, actually.
That's like a way, like a duty,
And like give up
for
for
a duty to these people, right?
the people. Let's start there. And on a very unserious and serious note, it's expensive. What do you mean we're just going to give up?
Okay.
So like when you put like, we're here to serve
Yeah.
and we're just going to leave and not do our part, it just doesn't. That's what like Samar said, that wasn't an option.
And that's how you have to be in this class, though.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly the point. Because a lot of people would just like give up in that sense.
Because you
Like,
can't.
exactly.
Especially not when there's people on the line. Like that is honestly the only thing that keeps me so sucked into this class.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll be honest. I've mentally checked out in a lot of my other classes.
Yeah.
But everything that I'm like, Fadma, the child, Hanan, like I just have to like, and it brings me right back.
Yeah.
I also think that was just a huge part of Moroccan culture, like that idea of like keeping your word. Like if you say something, and like even all the people that we met, like you could see someone on Tuesday and they will tell you Monday they're going to drive you from point A to point B. You don't have to talk to them again. They will be at the exact point at the exact time, and they will drive you from point A to point B. Like that, I think very much like fed into that. Like it just wasn't a thought. Like because they're so giving, because they're so just like, it's bigger than me. Like it would be selfish of me to just give up.
Yeah. And I feel like that part is like that mentality applies even when you come back. Because like when it comes to dedicating the time or like being in the lab or going to the meetings or all the things, like you could easily be like, oh, where's someone else is going to do it. But it's like, it doesn't happen if everybody doesn't, you know, do their part, if everybody doesn't give a little bit of themselves. So it's like for a lot of us, like I can feel we all have like a strong purpose, but I feel like if you want to join this class, you have to have that strong purpose or else you're hurting the story, you're hurting the people we're trying to highlight. And it's just something that's like integral to the whole social justice storytelling like aspect of this class.
100%. Has he like showed us that thing on the first day of school? It's like, what is it? It's like,
Not my job.
yeah.
Oh. What does that say?
This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, and anybody and nobody.
Oh.
There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it. Nobody did it. Somebody got angry about it because it was everybody's job. Everybody brought anybody. Anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did it and anybody could have done.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Like, going back to just Morocco, general, like with the first and second time you guys went, what was the difference you feel with the people you met, and like, were you able to navigate things easier, or was it even harder?
It was definitely easier the second time because we already established relationships the first time around, and we had what we needed. And I mean, it was also a smaller crew because I will say, like, I'm not going to say the first trip was a flop because it wasn't. However, with a larger group, it is harder to communicate with everybody, but it's easier when like smaller people to be on the same page. So I feel like with that, even though like we had some weather issues when we were there, like with rain and stuff, it was still easy to communicate, and we were still able to keep up with like the goals and objectives that we had to complete because we had everything mapped out, which honestly, that is the overall difference. Like the first trip, we were kind of going in blind. But the second trip, because we had already laid the foundation, we had something to build off of. Yeah.
For you two, what is the biggest thing you guys brought back from that trip for yourselves?
I also want to build on that, like make it a 2-part question of kind of like reflecting on our first thing of like why tell these stories in the first place. Like, what do you want? And this can be answered by all of us, like our audience to kind of take away from this film, even with it not being finished yet, even with us still working on it. Like, what's the point of like this story? Like, why these people, I guess?
I get start. I can only remember the last bit you said about the takeaway. Was there another question?
Yeah, mine was like that in a way. Like, what did you take from yourself from that trip?
So maybe we'll phrase it as,
People over here.
what from this trip, what did you take from yourself, and what do you want to leave with other people? And we can also answer.
Okay, blending the two. For me, like my outlook in general was I want to see all the ways that, like, I want to see myself in the everyday.
Yeah.
And I saw myself in the people from visiting John the Atlas, for example. John the Atlas is one of the organizations that we were working with when we were in Morocco. John the Atlas is the equivalent to a Germantown Boys and Girls Club for me. And the Germantown Boys and Girls Club, like, they're the different clubs all over America where has like the center for kids, after school, summer camp, all those things. So like I was able to see a lot of things. That was like probably one of the bigger ones though, that was like, wow, I see myself in this. Like, this is my life. This is an experience that isn't unique. And I loved seeing all of the experiences that weren't unique, but then also comparing it to the ones that are like that were. But I feel like overall, like what I want people to grasp that I took was we're all the same.
Yeah.
Like the differences really aren't that big when you get over the language barrier. We experience the same things, we feel the same emotions, and we're all people and we all deserve love. So like that's what I got, what I hope people receive.
Yeah, mine was actually very similar to yours of like the whole thing of everything feeling like bigger than me, of like, obviously I love myself, I'm important, all those things. Like I felt like a speck on this earth when I was really watching that footage. I was like, wow, like just like having a love and appreciation for people on any part of this planet that could be living an entirely different life from you. But just like you said, having those things in common, having those mannerisms, that's like, okay, I would talk to my family like that, or, oh, I would sit around the table and eat with my family like this, things of that nature. But it's just like, it also, maybe this is just a personal level thing of just makes your problems feel so small. Like, I'm just like, this is like, this is nothing, but like, this is nothing. Like, there's, like, it makes, it's just, I don't know, it's a good feeling to be able to focus on something other than myself or what I'm going through, and just direct my like attention and like effort towards somebody else and their story, and like telling that to the best of my ability. And I think for like the second part of our question is something I'm still trying to like figure out of what I want to leave with the audience. Cause like we all are, but just being someone that's super like social justice oriented and like really focused on the like injustice part of that. Cause I always want to bring things to light that may not be highlighted. So even in like when we're talking about writing, we're talking about the story. I'm like, okay, what caused this? Why are we in this predicament in the first place? Like coming from like an indigenous background, like there's always untold history. There always is a part of the story that has been like covered up or not told, and you can't fix anything or you don't first validate is real, which is like something that I have taken with me in like all of my like classes or definitely into this class, but I'm still figuring out what is that thing or what is that main thing that I feel like we should be leaving with our audience. It's like an action item almost.
I think for me, like when I first walked in this class, before I just added and I got asked to come in and see it. And I see Five Bun. She reminded me of my grandmother and my parents. And it's like this West African culture. And it's a different part of Africa, obviously, but I'm seeing the garments and I'm seeing the culture of it. I'm like, this is a beautiful story that needs to be told. And just leading with the audience, I don't know. I think regardless of social justice, like a piece of me is that I think I live every day like I want to be the realest version of myself every day. And that's I have today and that's it. And I hope people can live more like that. And if us telling you stories makes you feel more relatable or comfortable within yourself, I think that's the main point, taking away all the extra stuff that goes along with it. Like if you can fully be yourself and be okay with like, that's a story, mine relates, I now feel better about myself. If that brings that, I think like you did your job. That's the biggest piece, I think.
Thank you for joining us today. This is all the time we have. But before we go, we want to leave you with a question. What gives you purpose and what is like your why for waking up in the morning, for going on your day? Like, what is your driving force? And that's really all I have. So we'll see you next time back in the lab.
Okay.